What's going on, world of YouTube? Getting on here, this is Anubreed, and I wanted to go ahead and do that product review that I promised. Today's review is going to be on the RunningSnail crank radio. Now these are not only crank, they are also solar powered and battery powered. These things to me are worth their weight in gold. Honestly, they have many uses and they can be used in many emergency situations. So I'm gonna go ahead and start out with the digital because I have both the digital and the analog, and I'll show you both the good and the bad points of both. So starting out with the digital one is nice. Of course, both are portable. They don't weigh very much. The digital one, the screen lights up, and of course it shows what station you're going to be on. This has an antenna that folds down, and it also has a solar panel to charge up the 2000 mAh lithium ion battery. The reason why that is so important is because lithium ion has a better memory span. Generally, if you get batteries and you undercharge them to 70-80%, the memory is 70 or 80%. So once you charge them back up to 100, you're not truly at 100, you're at the 70% that the battery memorized. So the lithium ion, it has a wonderful memory, but it doesn't memorize the 60, 70, 80%. When you go to 100, you're actually going back to 100. Now this one, it's got a couple cool little features. Now if you go to the back and you lift up here, you have your micro USB. Here, you have your headphone jack and you have your USB out. Now I will let you know that these are not made for speed charging. Like any fast charging, it's not made for it because these are emergency purposes. Now this is your bottle opener. Why they have that, it comes in handy, but generally carrying a multi-tool that would have that would be a little more efficient. Now this also has a radio on the front. This is a LED. It does what it needs to do, trust me. Here you go. Pretty bright there. Now we also have a clasp on the back so you can clamp it onto your belt buckle or wherever you need to put it. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of demo it. I have it on the Weather Channel only because AM FM radio, they play music that I can get flagged for and copyrighted music, so we're going to stay away from that. So here we go. Bring that up. And then we're going to power it on.
Chance of rain 100%. Monday, rain and snow. Snow accumulation an inch or less.
Not too bad. It's actually got good sound. Now this is you have your buttons for your volume, you have your buttons for your band, and you can turn the radio station up and down. This button is for your power, and this button right here is actually for your alert or your alarm. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you what the alarm does. You have to hold this down until the alarm starts. So it's pretty loud and it'll get the attention of people. Now it does flash SOS and Morse code out of the front, so you generally want to aim this in the direction you believe that people are going to be coming. Now for the crank, there is a crank on the back that just folds into the back. Just bring it out, pull, and turn. Now the way you know it's receiving power is you'll find that when you're cranking it, a little red light comes on up top. And there you go. So just fold the crank back in, pop that in there, and you're good to go. Now overall it's pretty rugged, it's pretty durable. It does have a very hard plastic outer shell, which is pretty decent. Now generally these tend to run anywhere from $20 to $50 depending on which models you buy. You have smaller models and larger models. This one ran $40. So now I'm going to go to the analog model. I'll set this over here. Now the analog model, I like this model also. It has a couple different features. Now for this one, we have your general features, and if you look up, you have AM, FM, and WB for weather broadcast. If you go across the top, you have your tuner and your stations across the top where you tune in at. Now, you have lithium ion and AAA. Now, what I neglected to mention on the other one is if you go on the bottom right here, you just slip that off and your AAA batteries go in there. So they can be battery powered. Same thing for this one. Down at the bottom, you just release that and it's got where your AAA batteries go. Now, I will admit, the digital one seems to be a little bit louder. I've used them both. As far as the flashlight goes, this flashlight is a bulb light. This one isn't a LED. It still gets the job done though. So sorry if I blinded you there. Now this one also does the AM FM and it does the weather broadcast. For this one, you turn on by using the volume, and once you turn it, you have to turn on the switch it over to lithium ion or whatever battery you're using.
3 to 6 feet. Waves occasionally around.
You can also turn it off by using that dial.
Is 43 degrees. Off Cleveland, 48 degrees.
So there you go. Now the antenna is in the back. The antenna pulls out, goes ahead and lifts up. You can also take the antenna, and if you need further range, or if you're in a situation where you need to get a little more, just go ahead and you can wrap a wire around it, take the wire and lead it to metal anywhere up higher, and that can be used as an antenna. Now we'll go ahead and slip this back in. Okay, now this one has a solar panel too. I do like this one because this solar panel can raise up and be angled toward the sun. Now, there is one backdraw. If you actually look at the solar panel, when you raise it up, it's actually 3 LED lights. What this can do is generally light a larger path or a larger area, or you could use it to light up a room, either way. But if you take it down a little bit, you can still angle it. So when you sit it down, you can angle it and it can still get access to the sun, regardless of how you do it. This one also has a hand crank. The hand crank on this one is in the back right here. Once you pop that off, you go ahead and the battery portion is right there. So when you crank, it'll light up. Now this one is a little bit stiffer. It has more resistance to it, but that's how you know you generally have something that's pretty good. Whenever you got to put a little elbow grease and it's got a little bit of resistance, pretty decent model, honestly. Now this one has a different SOS. Now I do want to make sure that I mention that. What you're going to do is you're going to place it on whatever you're putting it on, lithium ion AAA battery. For this one, lithium ion. And under here are your switches for charging, neutral, and SOS. Now the SOS is a little different. It's just as loud, but the main difference is instead of presenting a white light, this one actually presents a red light. Red lights will generally tend to get people's attention, but either way it goes, I believe you're good to go. So, honestly, I can't really tell you which one I recommend, only because both have upsides and downsides. For this one, the digital, now if you break the screen, it's nothing more than a paperweight. I've never broke the screen, but I know that you would still be able to use it, but you wouldn't be able to read what you're using, whether your band, your AM, or your FM, etc. Now, that would be the only backdraw to this one. Now, the analog, once you're tuning in your stations, ultimately, just getting to the station is kind of one of those things where it's easy to do, but that's the only backdraw I can find. Now, the front lamp on this, you can actually adjust it left and right, and it will focus a little more, a little less, just depending on what you're using it for. So both of these are worth their weight in gold. I cannot tell you that. Whether you're camping, you're backpacking, you're just out and about, you need a small charge. And once again, neither one of these does speed charging. These are made for emergency charges. I can't say only, but in preference, that's what these are made for. They are slow charge, emergency charging. So honestly, I enjoy both of them. I bought both of them because I use them both. Now, it varies on which one you want, and whether you want the digital model or the analog model. But like I said, both have their ups and downs. Can't really find too many downs with them. But in an emergency situation, these things can definitely come in handy. Now, I do want to mention that I am not sponsored by any company. So therefore, these and all the things in my prepping gear are paid for out of pocket. So when I do a review, I want to be sure to bring you and give you an honest review and give it to you the best of my knowledge. I'm not going to tell you something wrong from my standpoint, and I'm not going to try and sell you junk or anything like that. Ultimately, I have no skin in the game. I buy these, and when I bring them in, I test them. If I like them, I'll do a review. And if I don't like them, I'll do a review. But I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can, only because as preppers and people who are prepping, I want to make sure that the things that we have and the things that we use are going to be things that will pretty much last a long term. I definitely want to thank those who donated, because any donations that are received, they will actually go into buying more prepper gear for review. Only because personally, I don't want to buy a bunch of the same thing, but I do want to do reviews. So I will continue to do reviews, and those who donate, things I will of course pay for out of pocket. That's not an issue, but I do want to make sure that people get good things and they get them on a good deal. Now, I will let you know that each of these, generally on a full charge, will give you 12 hours of light or 4 to 6 hours of radio. And honestly, that's a pretty good time. And if you hand crank, you can be good to go. It may take a second, but ultimately, a little bit of juice just to make a call could save your life. So, I do want to thank everybody for stopping in, checking out my review. And I do want to thank the people who did donate and also helping out with these. I have many more products that I'm going to be looking at that I bought and that I purchased myself, and I'll be doing reviews. Now, these are my first reviews. And honestly, I know there's room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. But I do want to thank those who sat down, who watched, and who and just let me know what you think. Personally, if you think that the review was good and I went over everything that needed to be gone over, like I said, please feel free to tell me, and also feel free to critique my work. That's not a problem. If you feel like there's anything I'm missing or the review was thorough, please feel free to leave a comment, and I will also leave a link in the description below where you can get these. These, once again, really nice. I like them, but they do have different models. Some have Bluetooth. They have all different types of models. You have some that are smaller, some that are larger. You have some that have different types of flashlights, some that are and aren't solar powered. I recommend solar power only because it's an alternate way to charge without constantly cranking. So once again, I want to thank everybody, those who have donated, those who are viewing. And like I said, your honest opinion is greatly appreciated. So I definitely want to thank you all. You guys have a blessed day. And just remember, as preppers, if you're ready, you don't have to get ready. So thanks, stay blessed, and have a good evening.